shadow.
Yeah, I keep being told that I need to have a light.
Donut lights, $30.
Oh,
It's good for you.
Yes.
All right, we got a couple more people coming in and joining us, and the streaming live on YouTube is coming up right now. Shane, you're popping in. Justin's here, of course, and on my screen to my left and right, I got my brothers from Other Mothers, Matt Hughes and Paul Falkowski, of course, and Shane's got the screeching in the background. If that is not Friday parenting, I don't know what is. Welcome. Woo! We're going to make sure that video is definitely marked not for children on YouTube after. But it's fantastic. My name is Mitch Cammage. I am the Savage in Business. I got Matt and Paul with me, of course. I got Justin and Shane live. You're going to be seeing us on YouTube as well. And this is Mitch Cammage Coaching's virtual box lunch. We're starting to do these pretty much every Friday right now. Just talk about the state of what's going on. And of course, too, since we got the naughty words out of the way already, bullshit our way through the week that was when it comes to business. And Shane, it's all good, brother. We're all there. We get it. We know it. We understand, because that's life in what we're dealing with here. And of course, the pandemic-laden world that we find in business. So this started out thinking, hey, man, how do we give back to the community? How do we just talk about the week that was, what's going on in business? And more than that, I think it's even turned into a little bit of therapy for those of us that get to pop in here, have a good conversation, and of course, just talk about business. So I'm your host, Mitch Cammage, my co-host, Paul and Matt, and our live studio audience today is Justin and Shane, and we're going to dive right into business. So here in our local marketplace, the government has lied to us and told us that we're going to get unlocked here right away. We've been locked down for 3 weeks, the better part. My 5-year-old was allowed to go back to kindergarten for the first time in a month. She was really confused last night when I put her to bed. I'm like, remember, you got to get up early in the morning, and your sister's going to help you out because daddy's got a call early in the morning or whatever it is, but I can take a quick break, let you out. She's like, Dad, why do I have to get up? You're going to school. She's like, I go to school tomorrow? Yeah, you go to school tomorrow. Do you remember going yesterday? Yeah. Well, you go tomorrow as well. And she's like, really confused for her. She's like, so I go to school tomorrow? Yeah, you go to school tomorrow. So well, guess what? That's what we're all living through when it comes to business too, even though we probably still had a job. Probably still get up in the morning, go to business, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, do all these other things with ourselves. Still very confused by that. So, Matt, Paul, what has the week been like for you guys right now? I'll share a couple of thoughts. Justin, you're not going to sit on mute, brother, because when you're here in the studio audience, you're going to be participating, of course, and Shane's going to come back. And, once again, I'm only blessed with no screeching or fist fighting in the background. I know Matt's only blessed with no screeching or fist fighting in the background because we were lucky enough or fortunate enough to be able to send our kids to school physically this week as well. Government's telling us that, of course, restrictions are going to ease up through this stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 process, like COVID doesn't exist as well. But the week that was, what's it been like for you guys?
Well, I can't speak on the little ones, but I can speak on an older one. I have a 19-year-old in the household, so the screeching usually starts around 8 or 9 in the evening. When he's got his regular friends kind of coming over on that side, and they have the space in the garage because the home office, we have to have 2 of them here, have taken over all the other rooms. So he's in the garage and he's got his little setup and everything there. So I think everyone's just kind of just sitting on the edge of their seat waiting for things to open up, right? And who would have thought that normal regular life would be so exciting?
Well, and I agree. So yes, I was fortunate enough to send the kids back to school, and I was in a syndicate meeting last night. It was my tribe meeting, and I guess shared that with the team. But I did need to clarify. I've enjoyed my time with my kids, and again, it's 3 weeks at a time, but it's 15 months in, and there's this and there's that and there's all those things. But realistically, it's everything that we ever wanted. Right. So I'm working from home, which was, again, something that most people said, hey, I would love to be able to work from home. Well, I'm doing that. Now, it's not all sunshine and roses, I guess you would say. Right. But I found even yesterday, as I, came back from walking them to school, my efficiency has gone way up because I had to learn how to kind of do as much work as possible in these short sprints. Right. So there was 45 minutes here or an hour here or whatever it may be. And now I have a full 6.5 hours kind of get shit done, right? So it's actually been a tool for me to kind of say, okay, if I can get X amount done in 45 minutes, I should be able to capture 6 times that in my 6.5, 7 hours, whatever it may be, right? So I'm curious to see how the next couple of weeks work. Obviously, we hope and pray that what was kind of launched a couple of days back will actually happen. And again, I'm not a betting man, so I'll just simply say I'm going to live for today. And for me and for us, we've chatted about how long-term planning as a definition has somewhat changed, right? I, for myself and my company, really look 3 to 4 weeks ahead, because I work and broker and coach and strategize, but I don't offer one specific service for myself, right? So I'm only as good as kind of the active network. And from a coaching side, I'm only able to help and support when open, right? Like obviously there's some back office and some structure that can be put in place, but ultimately we all just want to get to work and make some money, right? So I'm curious to see how the next 3-6 weeks kind of open up and how we track.
Mm-hmm. Justin, what about you, buddy? The week that was?
It's been a good week. Kids are back in school. All around, I mean, it's been a good week. I'm hearing some encouragement from those that have been shut down for a while. While that encouragement is there, there's also still underlying doubt. What happens if we get further restrictions put in after cases spike up again? Do we get shut down for a 4th time? Looking at a lot of the folks in and around my orbit, there is some positivity though. I might be able to open my doors for the first time in 15 months. I can start making money again rather than begging my landlord for forgiveness or having to redirect my pivot and redirect where I'm getting an income from. But I will say that over the last week, in just conversations, having people come to the table and say the pandemic has really allowed us to realize that we aren't just one income stream organizations, that we've had to be able to diversify. It's really brought a lot of things into perspective, and especially over the last week, after the announcements a couple of days ago, I've had a few extra messages come through saying, hey, we're at a point now, can we talk again? And it's been very encouraging. So on the home front, yeah, the kids are back. Well, I wasn't the one that was handling them at home. It's a different atmosphere. So, and I think that it does the kids really, really good to be back in the presence of in class and with children their own age. So,
Shane, what about you? Week that was?
Week that was. It's been a short week and a condensed week for many things. It's been a logistics week for us. But in terms of family dynamic and the impact of how it's affecting us, today is a loud day, as most days are. So sorry about my entry there. It was a little bit more grandiose than it needed to be. But we're seeing some interesting stuff come through on the technology side, and some rather alarming stuff as well. So it's been a week of education and logistics for us.
So listen, right now on this call, so a virtual box lunch today, it's just all dudes. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. We got all sorts of people here, but we got just dudes today. So just dudes means just dudes, just dads, just spouses, just business partners, just salespeople, just marketers, just HR people, blah, 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 blah. That's an awful lot of hats to juggle. But just being just 5 dudes on here right now talking about business. So, past week, past month, how's it been being just dudes? I don't know how else to put that.
I want to chime in because, again, for me, it's all about inner circle, right? So it looks obviously quite different. It looks like this, like we all know. And, there's times where, my chats, whatever you want to call them, it's just like, we just want to go for a beer, right? And go out somewhere. Yeah, there's those socially distanced, garage or driveway. Like, I smirk, but I live in a cul-de-sac, and I've put a roll down projector screen and a projector in my garage so that we can somewhat come together as friends, family, and neighbors, but still kind of work within what is allowed, right? Or suggested. So it's been quite entertaining and interesting to see how creative we can all get, but it's lonely. Like, really, I love hanging out and jiving and all these things, but I'd like to be able to actually, clink glasses and shake hands. So I'm looking forward to that happening shortly.
Mm-hmm. Paul, Justin, Shane, thoughts?
Yeah, I'm here with you on that one, Matt, about the beer and wanting to just be able to actually have that physical interaction. Even if I don't want to touch you, I just want to see you, man. And I just want to share the stories that actually are happening in our life and not over a digital screen. This group of people here, Justin, you and I don't have that much time to chat with one another, but honestly, these 5 gentlemen are key parts of my life, both in business and in tribes. So really, I want to be able to do that in person and just, have some laughs that happen incidentally in person. And that's really, at the end of the day, kind of what will be the culmination of the rest of my mental health, right?
If I can for a moment, and Paul and Justin, I get you waiting for a second. Shane, I think you said something important there. It's almost like some of our life, because it's here, it's artificial. It's almost like it's forced. Like, we can get along here, and yeah, there's a construct, there's a reason for what we're going to talk about. I got some themes to get some feedback off you guys from. But because we spend so much time on the screen, it feels a little artificial or a little bit constructed. Even if it's, as Matt put it, in a circle. Okay, this is my time to, I know that when the calendar ticks over with everything else going on, dad, work, everything else, to partner time. I've got a couple of different partnerships to work through here. There's moments where I'm going, oh, okay, it's like, this is just another Zoom meeting, even though there can be some real congeniality to it, right? And some real, even intimacy. It's false. It's sitting through the screen. It's not the same, Paul, Justin, thoughts?
Yeah, I was going to comment, especially on all of the Zoom meetings. You miss that. I think you miss that energy from that other person, right? That connection a lot more. Also, I find that distraction, being on the Zoom call, everybody's, doing other things or looking somewhere else. You don't have that focus as much in person.
Go on.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Sorry, I was watching you on the other screen.
So we all have 2, 3, some have 4 screens, maybe 5. Then there's the kids that are upstairs making noise. Then there's this thing that's going off. So, it'll be nice to just be able to, break bread across the table and have the connection and have this put away for an hour. So I think, just having that break, having that mental break, having maybe a little bit of that mental holiday, and focusing, on the person that's directly across from you, is it's just going to foster, I think, deeper relationships going forward. And then, we're not going to have the back-to-back meetings where you're jumping from Zoom room to Zoom room. Hopefully, we'll still have that. I think that's definitely ingrained in our life now, because it makes it easier to meet more people. But I think it's going to be a balance, right? Maybe you go out for the morning and do the morning coffee things or the morning breakfast things, or maybe do it in the afternoon. But I think we'll find our spots, and then, get back to normal, get back to the way that it is. We've just added another element to it.
Justin?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to some face-to-faces again. Body language, people more engaged, especially when you're doing presentations to a group of 20, 30, 40 people. 40% have their screens off. The rest, perfect timing, Shane. That was impeccable. 40. So in this case, 20% have their screens off. You're doing this type of a presentation to folks. You're losing their engagement. Mitch prime example. So you're losing their engagement. You're losing whether or not that person's focused. Are they listening to what you're saying, or are they being distracted by, my face is blurred out, but are they being distracted by their cell phone, or are they being distracted by, you know, their children beating each other up upstairs, you know, or the other components that can come through. So I think some face-to-faces will help deepen some of the relationships. I was talking with a neighbor, and he's in business development for an electrical company. And he was saying he got hired 4 months before the pandemic. He was in training for 6 months. Almost all of his clients he's never met. And it's been one of the hardest things, is to establish a level of trust with people over Zoom or over the phone. And he's looking forward to being able to go out and have these conversations face to face and start building that rapport with them. So I'm looking forward to that for sure.
Now listen, while we're talking the virtual box lunch for business, Mitch, this sounds like a lot of personal opinion about what people are living through. I'm sorry, does it get more personal than business? Like, I want to quantify the rabbit hole we started down, because my narrative or theme today was just to ask people how they were doing, what was going on the last week, but that experience and that shift between the two, because something we did last week is stuck in my head for 7 days now. We talked about the good that came out of it, right? Really did. This sped up things an awful lot. And yeah, that expediency, that speed means life is moving so much faster as well. But it also means chances are we're a little more connected than we used to. I mean, I've got in-laws, my mother-in-law and father-in-law, and this is not the quintessential in-law story. I love my in-laws. I know Matt loves his in-laws, right? I'm sure Paul loves his in-laws. I mean, I don't know who else does, but I love my in-laws. I'm really close to my father-in-law. Love my mother-in-law to pieces. You know, they're an essential part of my family. We see them more now thanks to this than at any point in time. I see more now with my business partners and right here. So MCC on my screen is across the top here. Matt and Paul are integral pieces. They're partners in delivery and coaching and development for that business. Syndicate, you know, part of the empire that we're talking to here as well. I've got my partners in the form of Ali and Ben sitting over there. We've got the executive committee and stuff like that. I see more now of this than I have at any point in time. The last time I saw a partner was the last time I had a business partner. And the one thing we did is we took a dividing wall out between our offices. So we literally shared the same 20-foot space section. Shane will remember that office. He'll remember that office, you know, for that period of time. But we took a wall out simply so that we could sit at opposite sides of the room with our backs to each other. But we're in that room because there was that sense of connection at all times. And when something would come up that we wanted input from the other, we didn't have to get up and go away. We just turned our chair. Well, what we've got right now, the last 7 days, what struck me is the speed at which we can do this. What was the last thing we communicated to each other, Matt and Paul? It had to be like 11 o'clock last night. I don't remember what time it was. What was the first message we had this morning? I was going into a client meeting like 7:30. So it's like, well, shit, you guys can't get away from Mitch. Well, no, but at the same time, there's also that sense of real time. So there's been good that has come out of it as well, because business is moving faster. But where we lose track of that, and to go to, oh goodness, excuse me for a moment, where we lose track of what's happening this week is that it's turning it off, right? Yeah, there's distractions. I got a screen up here right now with YouTube on the back end because we're live streaming. So I got the live stream on the back end in case anybody comments. And please, if you're there and you want to pop in, go ahead and comment. Talk about what we're talking about here right now. Ask a question. Do whatever you want to do. But I'm watching live stream over here. I got a copy of my calendar over here at all times just to be timely about what's going on. And then I got the screen with everybody over here too. So all this can drag away in a track, or it can add narrative and focus to what we're doing. Because I got this open, if anybody else has something to say, they can engage and interact with us almost immediately, right? If they do, and we get the odd comment, crops up while we're live, we get some commentary that shows up later on. So if they comment, we can interact with that now. Thanks to this, you know, and I'm going to take my fingers and see if I can do this. There we go. We got to go around the edges. And we got down the edges. And we're going to come across the edges. This here means that all of us, the 5 of us right now, from the comfort of Justin's probably in his office, Paul's in his home office, Matt's in his home office, James in his home office, I'm in mine, and that's the background I picked today because this is the one that continues to make me happy most lately. Here we are. It's not the same as face-to-face, but it's happening right now, and we get to engage, and when we're done, we can flip the lid shut and walk away. There's some good that came out of this as well, right? So let's get a little bit of thinking on that, and then let's dive into a couple of business subjects. I want some feedback from everybody here on that sort of stuff. So let's get some thoughts on that, because the speed is certainly a benefit as long as you're willing to flip the lid shut. And I actually almost flipped the lid shut, which would have ended our call. That's for sure. Flip the lid shut, and guys, I'm out. Click. He really did it. Well, crap, right? Well, I guess it's lunchtime. Thoughts?
For me, living in the technology industry 24/7, making sure my clients' stuff is taken care of and all of that, it's knowing when to turn that off. I'm a workaholic by nature. I want to keep working. I always have things on the stove, different pots going, and actually cutting off technology out of my life is really difficult. And it can purely be by choice, but unfortunately I've let it be more than just a tool. It's a part of my life. And I was actually just talking to a friend yesterday about this. I feel more naked without my phone than I do without my clothes on. And it's such a surreal thing to say that my phone is more important than clothes. It should never be. And technology should never be, and by extension, access to people or access to prospects, access to clients, vendors, blah 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 blah. It just never ends if you don't let it end. And so, being able to shut off the phone or being able to turn, flip the lid on your laptop or what have you, is such a powerful thing to have in your life, and it's important to have. So, for me, by 2:00 today, I will not be on technology at all. I'm going to cut it out of my life for 24 hours and come back to it late Saturday afternoon and enjoy a Friday as best I can.
Good for you. Good for you.
Well,
So if you see me on it, shame me. Okay.
Yeah,
We're
gonna call you out on it.
Good.
Yeah, there we go. I find it very interesting that we actually have this as a topic, because after again the syndicate tribe meeting yesterday, every Thursday I'm fortunate enough to have tribe, right? But I find that I'm wired, lots of great conversation, people are interacting, energy is high, right? But yesterday I was very purposeful, where my phone now is charged in kind of our laundry area, which is in between garage and house, right? So I don't have my phone in my room. That was like a big step, but I didn't have it at all. And because of the day, I was very busy. I ended up having dinner at like 9:00, but I didn't have a phone. Kids and wife were asleep. So I was like sitting there all by myself, and I was like, this is really weird, because like, again, when we're solitary, we're on our phone or we're on a screen, right? So and Mitch, exactly. So it was like, what do I do here? And I found that I was quote unquote like daydreaming. Like, I wasn't thinking about work. I wasn't scrolling through Instagram. I wasn't doing any of those things. And I was like, man, like my trees look really good. And like, it was like a super moon last night, right? I was like, what the heck? Like, am I actually in the moment? And I have to tell you, like, I spent a couple of minutes there at going, what am I doing? Right. So we're all here because, like you had mentioned, Mitch, like you can hit the red button in the bottom and click start meeting 30 seconds later, and you can be in another continent or another time zone, whatever. And again, I'm grateful for that. I think that's a great tool and asset, but there has to be a point where, the screens do come down and we just actually put it away. And this is, again, streaming live on YouTube, so I'm sharing this and oversharing. But I read an article a couple of weeks back where it said that the 60% more of the male population sit down to pee now because they're on their phone, right? Like, they're thinking of like the urinal is going to go to the wayside because guys have to sit to pee now, right? Because they think they're multitasking and working or sending an email. That to me is terrifying. And I have to tell you, like, late at night, I'm that dude. It's just like, hey, I'm on my phone. Here we go. Right. So again, oversharing, but that stat was like, it was out there, and it wasn't like, it was like qualified sources. Right. So I don't know where they're getting their info from, but if that's what it's all about, like that to me, like, if, Shane had mentioned, like, if you feel more naked without your phone than you do with clothes, or you're taking your phone to the bathroom, right? Like and since that, I read that article, I've now had on my ad space and Facebook and stuff like that, shower curtains that have iPad inserts and stuff like that. So you can literally watch your iPad while you're taking a shower. That to me, we need to look at, right? So when you talk about the disconnection part of it, honestly, I'm going to attempt to do it every day for at least a couple of moments, day and night. And I don't wake up and reach for my phone now, which is amazing. Awesome.
How else are we supposed to get our rounds of AFK Arena in if we don't go to the bathroom with our phones? Seriously, how are we going to possibly get that in if we don't do that? Because how else do you hide for your again, great video on there. So here's a little plug for somebody who doesn't need it for a moment. Go check out Dude Dad on Facebook. He's got an entire bathroom video on there as well, where it's both him and his wife alternating between their newly renovated bathroom. He's like, I'm in here going number 2, and he's just sitting on the floor with his feet up on the side of the bathtub playing games on the phone. His wife's in the bathtub, no water. She's holding a book club meeting in there. Like, it's fantastic the way they go through this with the video. So we go hide in the bathroom. It's not surprising to me that we're going to go sit on the royal throne with it, but people think they're multitasking. What a dangerous concept. What a dangerous concept. I mean, you got to get your Facebook time in, or your scroll time, or your AFK Arena time, but man, how many people are doing work on the toilet? Well, there's somebody out there, right?
Yeah.
There's somebody out there. So there's a reason that's that running narrative. All right. So we are here. And by the way, we do that real quick, I wanted to back up one moment, because Matt mentioned how many different places we are in. So last week, Paul and Matt, we can agree that last week was a really busy week for us. We had a lot of stuff going on. We got clients that are raising money. We got clients that are overseas and all over the place. So last week, let's see. Last week, we had 2 different masterminds in 2 different places. So last week, we were in Calgary. We were in Brandon, Manitoba. We were in Mexico. We were in Alabama. And otherwise, we were all over the place. That's 4 of the 70 colorful boxes in my calendar last week. It's just Calgary, Brandon, Manitoba, Mexico, and Alabama. So business changed too. Now, Shane's used to it with technology, but this shifted quite a bit. It moved an awful lot. So on that front, straw poll, the 4 other people on this one, who thinks the last year was good for their business? Okay. Who here thinks it's still developing? In other words, good for business, but you're still developing, still ongoing. Okay. Who here thinks they're done? Who here thinks it came faster than you thought it would have? No? Okay. Who here thinks it got tougher? Moving fast, accelerating, but got tougher. Who here thinks their competitors are more numerous? Interesting. So a straw poll matches very close to most statistics. So again, I've said this a number of times. I think I said it last week. I've said it umpteen times while I'm coming live here. And then I'm going to get your guys' opinions on each of those ideas for a moment. For the first time in 8 years of working with businesses, 2 months ago, I saw something I've never seen in my entire life. And I say this all the time. So you guys, you don't have to stop your ears. Just pay attention to the live audience that's here and everything else. I work with a lot of companies, even in startups, which means things like incorporating, setting up their business registrations, doing all that other good stuff. Accountants, lawyers, business consultants, etc. Find somebody really smart and get them to help you to do it. Going to the Government of Canada's website, where you can register a national incorporation for a business, you can incorporate federally. There was a warning window at the top. It said, if you're going to incorporate, basically, it's going to be a 5-day wait. That's how many new business incorporations were coming, right? We have, depending on sector, employment as high as 30%. We have increases in suicide rates, divorce rates, alcohol, drug abuse, child abuse, spousal abuse, all these other things that say that stressors and pressures in society are there, yet more people are starting businesses. More people are doing things like writing books. More people are launching courses online. More people are doing each of these essential elements over and over and over again. It's coming faster. So if the past year was not good for you, why? What'd you miss, right? Or was it a matter of sitting in the right position? I can't imagine it's always just sitting in the right position, because how many restaurants and in our marketplace, Alberta, how many times food and beverage services got shut down, but how many are thriving? I go back to last fall talking to the general manager for a franchise chain wing and beer joint, saying that, yeah, we might not be able to sit everybody in here, but we break our opening weekend sales record every weekend for takeout. That hasn't changed. So the difference is what? What is that? So we've got accelerated more than we thought it would have, coming faster, growing more, still in development. So there's 4 essential ideas. I'd like your guys' opinion on that, right? What do you think caused it? Why is it? Or just what you're experiencing? You can either say experientially, this is what I've seen. This is what I think is what's happening right now. Or here's a root cause as well. And then we can take it, pull it apart, put it back together. Thoughts?
Well, I think if you take a look at when there's any type of big downturn, recession, in this instance, dealing with COVID, you find that technology, exponential growth on that side. There's a very big push for it, for implementation. And it's almost due to it's a necessity all of a sudden right now. And then the adapters are there because we're looking for options. Do you have to streamline? Do you have to cut your budget? Do you have to look at doing things a little bit different? And it's usually in times of stress or times of upheaval that now you're aware or awake or looking around a lot more, because it's affecting your bottom line. It's affecting your family's future. And I think that's the push into more businesses. And I think Justin touched on that, right? Looking at different streams of income. I was able to rely on this stream of income, and now I'm not, because of the situation that we're all in. The world and everything has changed. So now that idea that I had, or that idea that I had together with my wife or whatever, now let's move forward with this. And with that technology being available, or even new technology, right? Like, how much faster is 5G going to come? How much more is there going to be, the Internet of Things, machine to machine talking for efficiencies? That's what I'm seeing, and I know Shane can probably talk more on that. But I find that the pace absolutely quickens, and early adopters, a lot more early adopters on it.
Shane, Justin, Matt, thoughts?
I know that at one point, working with a client a while ago, they relied 100% on door turns. They had no income coming in unless people physically came into their location. They got locked down, so we gutted the place. Took their product to market in rentals. Oh, guess what? We have almost no overhead, aside from some time and some gas to deliver the equipment, show them how to set it up and use it. And we found another stream of income. So when they are able to open the brick and mortar, they're not just stuck to the one stream of income. They still have the rentals. And the thing is, moving forward, a lot of people aren't going to want to go and, go into the brick and mortar location, but they still want access to that product. For us, for what we were doing, leading into the pandemic, it caused us to pivot and caused us to look at the products that we were offering and say, how do we make this bigger and better? And technology's been a huge benefit for us. Having conversations with people in Delaware, Australia, London, England, being able to have these meetings and switch from one to another. The only crappy part is the times, 9:00 at night where people are wanting to have a call on whatever. But I think technology's allowed us to stay engaged. And for us personally, it's allowed us to expand a lot quicker than we wanted to, rather than it being one-on-one physically doing the work. Well, here's a tool. and here's the technology, and here's how it's going to work. And hey, we've been able to prove over the last 10 plus years that it's a very viable product. So on the one hand, COVID has destroyed so many, but it's also been a really big boost for a lot of people. And to touch on Mitch's point, more people are opening businesses now because they were forced to. You had an idea, you lost your job, $1,800 a month isn't enough to pay your mortgage. It's not enough to feed your kids. It's not enough to pay your utilities. So how do I get extra streams of income? Well, I've preached this for years. Get a side hustle, have 2, 3, 4 streams of income. And now that you've been forced to do it, I think COVID's broken down a lot of the barriers and a lot of the self-doubt. Well, if I only had a little bit of extra money in my bank account, I could do that. Or if I only had this, I could do that. But the reality is when you strip down all the barriers and you're forced to do it, there's no other option, right? And I think that we're going to see some really big companies come out of this, and I think we are going to see some fails come out of it. But kudos to everybody that's taken that initiative to start something up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Matt, thoughts?
I would just say, yeah, like adversity creates creativity, right? So to kind of just mimic what everyone else said, yeah, like there's people out there winning. And again, it's a common conversation for myself, and something that I tend to preach a little bit about is that we're so polite still as Canadians that we don't want to celebrate the successes when others are not, right? And to me, that's a detriment to myself and to the people around me, because like winners win, right? So like I feed off of that energy, and for us and kind of the people that I hold dear, I would say, listen, like be proud, like puff those feathers out, puff the chest out, whatever you need to do. And if you're grinding, like many of us are, like everyone's working in new ways, whether or not you're succeeding or not, that's big. So everyone is busy here because it's all new, right? Like whether or not you can figure out where the Zoom link is, and whether or not, the lighting's okay. Is my resting bitch face not going to translate well, right? Like I'm a pretty friendly dude, but I'm always like, I'm this guy on Zoom, right? So that, speaking to the very beginning, is that I just want to be in an actual room with somebody and say hello, right? Now, contrary to that, we become better listeners because there's usually only one of us speaking in a Zoom room, right? So you don't have that background noise. But I was speaking to, I think it was Mitch, a week ago. I went out and there was, lots going on in the background, and I was having a hard time adjusting to the volumes and to the sound. Like I really had to focus on the conversation, right? But that, I believe, will be a positive for all of us as we get back out there. Now, some of us have said, like, we all want to get out and shake hands, clink glasses, whatever it may be, before I see some people, right? But we don't know how that's going to look, and it's going to be weird. Like it literally is going to be the first grade 7 dance that you've been to again, right? Can we shake hands? Can we bump out? Like, what are you going to do, right? So I'm curious to see. We're going to have a really big push as we reopen. I think it will be tremendous. I hope and pray that, case numbers don't go up. Of course they will, is what it is. But it's going to be weird. And I truly do think we'll see a ton of people on patios, and we'll see people out in the movie theaters. We'll have some clients and some customers. But like, I order my groceries. I was mentioning earlier before we hit start, like I click an order for my groceries, and honestly, like that, I'm not going back. It saves me money, it saves me time. It's just like, it's now the way that I would do it, right? So those type of activities are going to be lost, right? Like again, I'm a believer of the outside 4 walls in the grocery store. Always have been. But now I don't do any over shopping, because I literally know I'm going to get 6 bananas and I'm going to get 4 peppers. So, the big grocery stores out there aren't going to get those impulse buys, whether or not it's the pack of gum as you're waiting or this and that, right? Yeah. Because I've been in a couple of times just out of necessity. I can't do it. Like, I'm just not a lineup guy. Never have been, never will be. And I took a picture of the grocery store nearest us for my wife, and like everyone thought I was crazy, but I was literally 120 feet away. I was at the very back, waiting in line, quietly, awkwardly. Like you can't, have that smile. You can't have that conversation, right? So all of that speaks to, how does business translate, right? Like that whole conversation for myself comes back to, how do I door knock now? Right? Like if there's a time where I need to cold call, how willing and able are those people going to be? Right? Like, I think there's definitely going to be a barrier there that you're going to have to break down, and it's going to need to be a sledgehammer rather than just a tap, tap, tap. Right?
Shane, he's got to come on camera.
Yeah.
Got to come on camera.
I'm here.
I'm not talking about you. I don't give
Oh, you're talking about this little thing? Hold on. There she is.
Hi, hi, Brat. How are you? You are on YouTube. We're going to make you famous.
She can't hear you at all.
No, I know.
It's all in my headphones.
That's okay. You can translate later.
Yeah.
Hi, love. That's awesome.
Can you okay?
Yeah.
There we go.
All right.
She
So
just
what?
turned 2 a couple days ago. Just to touch base on your technology thing though, real quick. Everybody's usage of technology and the mass consumption that there's been has really put a mass effect on supply chain for just day-to-day workstations and computers in the commercial sector. Residential, I mean, you can still go to Best Buy and Amazon and all that and still buy cheap little laptops, cheap little desktops. But when it comes to the commercial sector and businesses wanting to actually grow their footprint or whatever, it's become a bit of a challenge, because everybody and their dog has started businesses and everything, and large enterprise buying up stock just to make sure they have extra. It's been a bit of a challenge to deliver some projects for us. And it's an exciting thing that people are starting to do this, but at the same time, manufacturers were not ready for it at all. They weren't ready for anything like this. And we're still probably another 18 months out before supply meets demand. It's kind of ridiculous in this day and age to say that, yeah, I can't buy a computer for like 4 months. In the day of instant gratification, technology is not meeting that need right now.
Well, the last time I bought a computer, it was from Shane. It was the filthy trade-in laptops, because he got out of his car. We stood under a rain-soaked tree at the beginning of the pandemic, and he handed me the laptop at arm's length, and we went, "It's good seeing you, pal," because the last time we saw each other was over beer. We talked in the rain for 10 minutes, and then he got his car and drove away. It was like the illegal trade-in laptops. It was insane. So while we're here right now, I want to give everybody here a chance to crow just a little bit. And Shane, I love that you went there. Matt, same thing. I love every week so far. I'm able to, I don't know, coax you guys into going in the direction I want anyway, in the form of the subjects that I kind of want to cover. So it's fun. Either I'm a manipulative prick, or else, it's just you guys are smart, whichever one's going to do. But I want you guys to have permission right now. Give me 1 or 2 wins that you've had in the last little bit. I want you to celebrate it, because Matt, you hit it. Winners win. And you know what? I know everybody on here. And you guys will drop dead before you give up. So here's your permission right now on my channel to say, here's something that I'm just killing it with right now. Give me something. Give me something.
Shane, go. See, this is where the whole
too polite to do anything.
Like, oh, I don't want to go first. This is exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm staring at my daughter climbing in my cat tree. For me, honestly, I just closed a $95,000 deal and helping a client go serverless. From a client that's been steadfast in using servers and all of that, they were like, "Can we do this? Can we actually move away from having this physical infrastructure?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why not? Let's navigate this together." So we did a whole case study for it and everything else like that. It decreased their operational their capital costs by about 30 grand year over year after this project. But the impact allows them to move with business a lot more fluidly, allows them to do a whole bunch of stuff, and is great for my pocketbook too. I'm not upset about it at all. It's a great project for us. Nice. It's got a fairly strong complexity to it for the design phase of it, but the implementation is nice and simple. So it's a lot of fun for me.
Badass. Shane, thank you, brother. Justin, what you got?
Wow. Wins for the week so far. We helped a broker through one of our platforms, Creedom. We helped a broker close a mortgage, ultimately allowing the debtor to pay out some debts, allowing him to refinance his mortgage at a little bit of a lesser interest rate. Put it into perspective, the guy pays $2,900 a month for a mortgage because he's got bad credit. Well, now we're able to drop that down, and I think he's going to be paying around $2,000 a month. It's $900 for a single dad, to be able to reallocate into other areas of his life, which is to me a pretty big win. Another win, we've got Debtor X. It's live, it's up, it's functional. I think on Wednesday we had 14 creditors sign up in a matter of 3 hours on our platform. To me, that's a huge win.
Mm-hmm. That's 13 or 14 people that are going to help get their money right. Love
Absolutely.
it. Love it. Paul, what you got?
A short week, but super busy week, cram packed. Lots of wins, definitely on the coaching side. Just being able to see that movement or that light bulb moment or that aha, and seeing how that the things that we talk about, the process and being in the process and stay with it, is actually paying dividends. We have a young guy with a new business, and it's a struggle to start a new business, and it is for everybody. But just seeing him put the reps in and putting the time in and trusting in the process, he's breaking even. He's not losing money. He's breaking even, but he's in that push for the next level on that side. And and we talk about it, and Mitch, you talk about it, Matt, you talk about it, is just moving the dial just a bit, and being able to not only communicate that, but to live in that and see those wins. It's so rewarding on that side. So a lot of those little dials changes, but big wins that are actually happening. And as you remind us to celebrate our wins, it's also to have them really recognize what a monumental achievement that is, because we're always looking at the end result or the big number or the big goal, and not seeing how those fundamentals are huge in getting to that. So that's what I've been really witnessing, and that's a win for me.
Mm-hmm. Matt, what's happening with you this week, brother?
You know what? Same thing. So condensed week. So that translate to blissfully productive rather than busy. But I say that with a smirk because, again, both Mitch, Paul, because I often kind of relay that the professional athlete out there, when the reason that they get to that top level is typically because like the anxiousness or nervousness translate into excitement, right? Like if they're interviewed, they never once say, "Oh my God, I was nervous before the championship game." They're like, "I'm super excited." So I was mentioning to you, both of you, that I kind of had an excited breakdown rather than a nervous breakdown, because I was so busy last week moving into this week that I was like, "Ooh, like I am there, and I'm definitely past there." But coming out of that, I realized first, my capacity can grow. So no different than if you're a runner, your lungs will have more capacity, you'll be faster, you'll be this, you'll be that. But all that aside, I'm busy, I'm grateful. And I look forward to kind of, again, turning that dial 1% at a time. And it's something that I want to be able to somewhat share and communicate as well, is that if people are looking for big wins, fine, but like look for the little win, right? Like just get up 10 minutes earlier, run 5 minutes more, like eat, something green, like whatever it may be, right? Like it's just one of those things where those small reps, right? Like the law of 10,000, like 10,000 hours. And I was, smirking to myself earlier this week is that I think I've hit that threshold for a couple of things that I've been working on personally and professionally, where I've moved it from like the conscious, which means work and headache, to the unconscious, where now it's just habitual, and I can say, hey, I can do this, and I can do this almost with my eyes closed, right? So that's like the biggest success for me, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, last one. Everybody's going to get maybe about a minute or so. So put your game faces on. 1 or 2 or 3 behaviors which has led you to success so far. In other words, the stuff that you're seeing that you've had to shift with. Pandemics move things, marketplace has shifted, we've got massive disruption. Paul talked about, when you're looking at at depression, recession, disruption in the marketplace. When disruption's there, so here's the analogy for the moment of the last year. When you take your hand and you splash the tub for your kids and they laugh their asses off, right? And if you don't have kids, it's still fun to splash in the bathtub all by yourself, or the hot tub or the pool or wherever it is. It's the reason we still go to pools, even as adults, right? When you splash and all that water goes someplace else, for a moment where your hand makes contact with the water, there's a cavity, there's a depression. The air and the impact of the physical object moves that water, and where the surface of the water was before, it creates a hole. And then the water comes back in. So it's happening in the marketplace right now. When that happens, people are either opportunistic, they realize there's a new hole created and they move to fill it very quickly, or they understand what's going to happen with the ripples next. Look at something like that and shift what they're doing to either ride the waves and the ripples or to harness the energy that's coming off of them. Bearing that in mind, it doesn't have to be so high-minded. If you think over the last week, last month, or whatever it is, 1 or 2 or 3 things about you that's clearly changed in the last year, or even the last 3 months or 6 months, and it's something about time saving. So you can have 1 or 2 or 3 ideas, keep it short. You got about a minute or so, and something that you're doing that is preserving or saving time. Because of this, all the box now, time also disappears on us really quickly. So I've heard an awful lot of conversation today saying, hey, I make sure to take the time. And Shane, this afternoon hits 2:00, this bad boy, and we're all watching for it now, right? You're going to need your burner phone and your alternate Reddit account, because the rest of us are going to be hunting for you going, where's Shane? Where's Shane? Out comes the old BlackBerry, right? He's going to start emailing people. All right. So 1 or 2 or 3 things that are shifting, that are definitely building the behavior, the practice, the attitude of winning, and something that saves a little bit of time. Matt, you're up first. Let's go.
One thing, it's my priority right now, and even Justin and I spoke about this earlier this week. Pick up the phone. A phone call, a voice, you can hear the passion, the fear, the nervousness, the excitement. I can send 1,000 emails, but I can pick up the phone once and I'll be way more productive. So I know that people are scared. And again, all of our jobs, no matter what, and I mentioned this yesterday at Tribe, it's just to pick up the phone. If you're a solopreneur, if you're a CEO, if you're anybody, your job literally either to solve a problem, you're picking up the phone. You can send an email, but I can guarantee you're going to be better if you pick up the phone. That's the only thing that I'm focusing on.
Badass. Thank you very much. Justin, what you got?
I'm going to deflect to somebody else while I gather my thoughts on that.
All right. Paul, you're up.
Not paying attention to the chatter, social media, radio, TV, can definitely put you in more of a panic or a fear state. So, disconnecting from a lot of that stuff where everybody else's life is awesome, or somebody's pointing at the screen saying, you're lacking this, you need to do this, buy my course, really, looking at, you touched on it too, is where's the opportunity, right? If shit's happening to me or, something in my life, is it all negative, or where's the silver lining in it? And, taking the time to really think about it. So it's been a shift in what I'm saying to myself on that. And time saving is, I can easily get overwhelmed because I'm a learner. I have a lot of curiosity on things and I want to learn it all. So it's really, what's the basics? What are my top 3 that I really need to focus on? And that's it.
Done. Shane, what you got?
Recently, just been looking at my own business and how I was able to create some efficiencies and free up my own time, and then shifted that focus actually and offering it back to my client base and saying, hey, I've done this for my business. I've done this for a couple other friends and family of mine. What can I do for your business to actually free up your time? Because with working from home, and you're not dealing with all of that traffic, you're not dealing with all of the unproductive time where you're not actually working on your business. And the flip side of that is you're spending a lot of time in your business and not necessarily giving up that time or giving that time to somewhere else. So creating some automation solutions for clients or connecting them with better tools to be able to free up their time and be able to focus on family and fun rather than just business. It's what I've been doing over the past quarter, and it's been really successful so far. So
Badass, brother. Thank you very much. Justin, what you got?
I've been learning to use my calendar effectively and ensure that the topics of conversation are kept to what that conversation should be, rather than I like to talk, and rather than trailing off into 12 different directions. If we're slated for 45, what are our key points to have conversations on? And I found that over the past little while, that's helped me free up more time in my day, just being more on task.
There you go. Why did that sound like a hostage video for a moment? Reading off I am being treated well and I am healthy. At this time, I would like to issue the following statement, right? Yeah. Brother, thank you for sharing that. I mean, for everybody here right now, that is candid, and that's behavior that's here. So we talk about, going back to Matt's comment, winners win. Well, here's behaviors from people. Has everybody here won? God, no. That hasn't happened yet. We're all still working at it. We're still work in progress. I saw a recent study, came up a couple of months ago, about the traits that make up the highest functioning CEOs, but more importantly, those people that are considered top level entrepreneurs, the people that are really getting by. And time and again, we look at a shift that we've had over and over and over again to a more inclusiveness, more communication, all these other things. But what was interesting to note is that some of the top traits included relentlessness. In other words, no quit, right? And anybody that's really successful, there's no quit. That doesn't mean you spend more hours than you need to. It means that you don't stop when things get troubling. That's a really important trait to have. Another one is a lack of agreeableness. Sometimes you have to make decisions that may not fit the narrative of what other people have got. But ultimately, you're the one who has to answer for that. You're going, man, and both of those sound like they can be a little lonely sometimes. They can. So when you add people around, this is my final thought, and this is my one takeaway today before we sign off. And so here's your one behavior for winning, outside of potentially understanding your own ability to become relentless, and sometimes not saying yes. When you choose to surround yourself with other people, like this call today, make sure they're the caliber and quality enough so that you aren't the smartest human being in the room. If other people have got something to contribute, and you know they know something better than you do, shut up and let them talk. If you're not in that room, get your shit wired in a hurry and make sure that your room includes those people. Brothers, it has been a pleasure to share today. Mitch Kamich coaching MCC's virtual box lunch, Friday, May 28th. Thank you for joining us. Watch for it next week. Shane, Justin, thank you so much. Matt, Paul, as always, we will see you guys next time on our next one. And of course, reach out, follow up. You got IT, you got money, you got coaches. This little call and just us venting our spleens and talking about the stuff we're going through in the past week represents decades of business. If you're watching this video at any point in the future, find any of the 5 of us, message us. We're happy to help. Anyway, brothers, good to see you as always. For the tribe out there, you know what you got to do. Happy Friday afternoon. We will see you guys soon on the next one. Good job, boys.